here on LinkedIn. The link for Zoom through LinkedIn, okay? Excellent. See you soon. Bye. Hey, you made it.
Hey there. Talk about tearing my hair out, because right at the same time, I got an email through from somebody else going, there's problems with the link. And they've sent me their calendar for one they want me to book in for. And I think I'm talking to them and going, what's going on here? This is the wrong person.
It's okay.
No wonder I'm bald here. Go on,
like. Just wear a hat and nobody will notice.
Looks like it might be a bit cool where you are.
Yeah, I'm in Manly. So my wife is doing a live feed from the kitchen with my daughter. My son is in bedroom doing a FaceTime with a friend. So I only have the balcony left.
Thrown out into the cold. So are you at the north end or the southern end of the the main shopping area there?
I'm in the middle, right? Like in the middle. It's between North End and South End.
Ah, lovely.
What about you? Where are you based?
In Newcastle, in the next to the CBD.
And you still go to the office? Nice.
Yeah, well, this is my virtual office, so that
I was going to say that sign at the back. It's a bit weird. Oh, your campfire now. Good.
That's how it's all done. Use a program called XSplit that does everything that I need to do. Acts like a TV station.
Yeah, nice.
All from the keyboard, which is quite handy.
Yeah, and you've got good lighting as well.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so let me start it. So I'll just present you quickly the question. You've received the question. Have you had a chance to go through them, or otherwise we'll just rapidly go through them?
Had a quick look at those. Where are they now? Nope, I've got the wrong questions there. That's somebody else. Just come off the back of a 3-day men's health forum or summit, and I'm still reeling from the end of that. I spoke on Friday night, Saturday night, and then was involved in a men's circle on the Sunday morning.
Cool, and all on Zoom?
All on Zoom.
Okay, you must be zoomed out.
I've got 7 calls on Zoom today.
Oh my God! All right. Yeah. So very quickly, I'll be introducing you. I will ask you why. And you will tell us about your own family, like your own kids. If you can share names, that's always more personal. And then why is the balance between work and fatherhood so important for you? Then what it looks like the ideal balance. Then your secret weapon, and then we can dive into how you work around campfire. What has been the campfire
Yeah.
initiative? Cool.
Yep. Yep.
Does it
You
sound
just ask the
scary?
questions and we'll go from there.
Yes, that's right. I'll be leading you through this. So for the intro, I've got your profile, and I'm just going to be
Yeah, cut
you're
that up
about,
as the way you want.
yeah. And so I want to introduce you. I'll say Alan Stevens from Newcastle, who builds successful negotiation and close deals faster, and also the founder of. Can we say founder of Campfire or
Campfire Project, yeah.
Campfire Project? Okay, cool. All right. And I'm just going to write the time where we start. So you will see me taking a lot of notes because what I try to do is I try to write the show notes, and at the same time I'm identifying all the golden nuggets that you're providing.
Yep.
And so this way I time them all and then send them to my VA. My VA will use the video recording to do a 2-minute snippet promo video on LinkedIn, the same way that you do yours, really. And what I'll do is I'll be sending, just before we start promoting that podcast, I'll be sending you those videos as well if you want to post them directly on your social media. Yep. It makes for already made videos for you, which can come quite handy. And yeah, that's about it. So let's. So the audience is made of principally working dads. So they're the dads who really want to be modern dads, who wants to be good at their job, but also be good as a dad. And they're struggling, because they want to, but they're still behaving as traditional dad, meaning spending 100% of their time at work and then struggling at home. So it's really looking for tips and also how to build a mindset to be a better dad.
Yep, excellent.
Cool. All right, let's go back to my question list. And there we go. So we start at 13s. All right, everyone. We're here for another episode, and today with me, we're lucky to have Alan Stevens. Alan is from Newcastle, and he is an expert at negotiation and closing sales. But on top of that, he's also the founder of a new project called the Campfire, and that's really why I got him on the podcast, and I really want him to talk to us about it. Hey, Alan, how you doing?
Very good, thanks. Thanks for having me on, Julian. It's really good.
We're really lucky to have you. Can you introduce us to your family and then to what you do?
Yeah, well, I've got 3 sons. My sons have now grown up. They're the oldest one's in his early 40s. My youngest is in his early 30s. And I have 5 grandchildren. So my son's Luke is the oldest, Justin's the second oldest, and Martin is the youngest. Luke works for the Defence Department, has 1 son, and another child on the way, which we think might be a daughter.
Nice.
And my second oldest boy is the father of my oldest grandchildren, John and Jessica. John's 15, and so he's the oldest of all the grandkids. And my youngest boy, Martin, has 2 sons. One is Loki, and the younger one is Owen. And he's got his hands full with a wife who's bipolar, and both of his boys also have autism.
So, wow, that's having your hands full. Yep.
It certainly is. So, I watch my boys grow up and really proud of the way they handle what they go through.
And do they live close by? Are you available for them physically, or?
My oldest boy is in Newcastle, just north of Newcastle, so about 20 minutes drive away.
Nice.
My second oldest is actually in Perth, a little bit further.
A little bit.
Up until recently, had been in Canberra, but he's actually a federal policeman and he's working in the airport, so he's over in Perth. And my youngest boy lives on the Central Coast.
Oh, Central Coast, so not too far as well.
Yeah, about an hour and a half drive away.
Yeah. Cool. And so, well, that's a lot of grandchildren to look after.
Yeah,
and so how do you get busy these days?
How do I get busy? Mainly with my business has always been busy. Because the thing I should mention is that with my three boys, they were 4, 11, and 12 when their mother left. And so I had the
Okay.
three boys to raise on my own. And at that time, I was running, I was with Telecom, I was a principal technical officer with them, but just organising and taking my own redundancy, getting out of there, and started my own business. So I had the three boys to raise, plus trying to organise a new home and also a business around it. And that was a challenge, getting
Uh,
the balance between everything.
I can imagine. I'm already exhausted just by hearing you saying this. It's like, oh my God, by yourself? Like, oh.
Yeah,
And
well,
were you prepared for this?
no, it came out of the blue. I knew that, we were sort of drifting apart, but when your wife turns around and just says, look, I want to leave. And by the way, I need to go and find myself. And I said, well, what about the boys? She said, well, she's a nurse. She was working in the doing night shift. And so she'd be at home through the day. The boys would be at school and then vice versa. They'd be at home and she would need someone to look after them. And I said, well, I'll take the boys then. And I gave her the sports car. So that was a trade. She got the sports car and I got the three boys. So
You
I
got
thought,
tickets.
give her
Hey,
the
you
car so
won.
she can get there faster to wherever she need to go. And at the same time, I knew where my sons were.
So what happened? Because were you already organized in terms of having a balance between the boys and between work, or did that come as I must have a balance now?
I must have a balance at that point because she was focused on her profession, her career, and so was I. And so we're like a lot of people. We have our children because we've already got a job and we're focusing on that. A man's role has always been to be the provider. That's what's wired into our DNA. So we
Yes.
will always go out there. Whereas women, they they raise the family. They also can work full time if they like. So there's two things that they can do. And
Yeah.
now they've got three things. They can do a combination of both. Whereas men,
Yep.
to compensate for to be the connection between them doing all of those three different things, we have three things to do, and that's bring the money in, bring the money in, bring the money in. So we've got three things, and they're all about bringing money in. So our focus is on that. So when we're doing that, it's very easy to allow yourself to drift away from what you should
Yeah.
be doing and just
Yeah.
do what you think you have to do, and that
And
is to provide.
and I think I mean the generation are changing, and like the generation of dad now wants to be nurturer as well. Like they want to
Mm,
be provider and nurturer as well. And the problem is we look back to our dad and most of us and most of the people on the podcast, and we didn't have that example because
mm,
before it was providing, 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 and so it's
mm,
kind of like, wow,
mm,
how do I do this? And when you use the word drifting away, and it's what a lot of dads, a lot of us like me, that's how I felt. I thought I was handling it the first
mm.
5 years and realized, oh my God, I am
Yeah,
not handling it.
that's it.
So what's so we understand now that in the balance between work and looking after your boys was important because, well, there was no one else to look after your boys, right?
Yeah, well, I was lucky that I had neighbours around me. Where I was living, my wife, just before she left, wanted to move to the country. So we'd bought a property. We're living in a caravan. We're about to put the foundations down for the house, and she decided to leave.
You were
So,
living in a caravan and building a house and going to work and looking after the boys.
yeah.
Okay.
And it was an hour and a half drive from home to work every day and then back again. So 3 hours in traveling, trying to build the house and everything else on top of it and doing the designs. It was just a chaotic time. And I don't blame her for leaving either. I mean, I know that she was under a lot of pressure, so was I.
Mm,
And she needed to find some space, and that's what she needed to do. So,
yeah.
and one of the things that I've made sure that when the boys were growing up was I realised I'd had a lot of women in my life after that, and I
Yeah.
realised that they would have broken relationships if they followed my past.
Mm-hmm.
So the only way to break that was to make sure that they respected their mother. So I had to build a relationship with her. But that was about 10 years later.
10 years
So
later. Yeah. Yeah.
so most of my realizations weren't at the time. Unlike
Yes.
most men, we just respond to the situation.
We respond. Yeah. Yeah.
The ball served over the net, we just try and hit it back again.
Yeah.
And our focus is to get it over the net, not try and get it into a particular part of the court.
Yeah, because we don't have the time to reflect and to plan. Like we just
Yeah,
react, right?
that's it. And so
And
that causes a problem.
it's funny what you said about she wanted to have a space, and I think we also need our space. And I find myself going into a solo retreat, which is going on one day all by
Mm.
myself, going staying in a hotel or going on a holiday for a week all on my own, and that allows me to reflect on what happened and start planning for the rest because
Mm.
we don't have time. We just go to work and then come back. The kids are here, they want to play with us, and we just don't have time for that reflection. How do you find the time for that reflection?
Well, you have to do that because, and the thing is, while you're doing it for yourself, if you've got your partner at home, make sure that you allow your partner to get that time as well. It's got to
Yes.
be tit for tat. It's got to be a fairness between it. Okay, we can look after ourselves and we know that if we're happy, then everybody else should be happy. But if we're not giving them the space either, then they're not happy. And the saying is that, happy wife, happy life. But in truth, it's happy human, happy life.
Yeah.
And so the man's got to be happy, the woman's got to be happy for the children to be happy.
Yeah.
And so it's making sure that, yes, you get some time out for yourself. And that could be, yes, going away on a camping trip. It might be going fishing with your mates. It could be anything like that. But make sure that you allow your wife, your partner, that to get that time as well.
I agree. I'll describe you my last holiday. We went to Bali. We flew with the kids. We dropped the kids at a five-star hotel resort with my parents, right? Then we stayed there 2 days just to, to do the transition and the handover, right? And then we drove down further south to the first surf beach. Then I drove out my wife to her Airbnb for her
Mm.
solo retreat. And then I drove further down for my Airbnb, my solo retreat. And everyone was happy, but it was really important to have discussed that beforehand, to
Mm.
realize what we were doing, that everyone was getting something. Like the kids were looking forward to be with their grandparents and having the swimming pool and the hotel, and my wife was happy to be able to go to the market, go surfing, and I was just happy to go and snorkel.
Yeah, and that's what you need to do. You've got to have that discussion as well, so that both of you know why you're doing it,
Yeah.
so you can really focus on it and unwind, disconnect from the pressures. But it's also making sure that the children realise that, hey, you do need time for yourself, but it's not because you don't want to be around them.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
they need to understand the need for this, the necessity for it. And that's where the conversations we have with our children are so enriched. And by having those conversations, we actually get closer to our children as well.
I agree. And so you were saying that it took you, it took you a few years to realize everything that happened and like you look back. How did you get to look back and to reflect on what happened, and how did you allow to just judge yourself kindly?
Well, I think even after my first divorce and before my second marriage, which was a short marriage as well, uh, that was about 10 years in that period of time. And I still was just running on automatic. I was just doing what I always thought the man had to do, and that was, provide, get the business going. So I pushed myself in fairly heavy hours. But I was lucky that I had some good neighbours around who would step in while I was on the property. My youngest boy was going to a childcare centre, and one of the neighbours would pick him up from there and take him home, and then I would come back.
So the
And
neighbors were picking them up. That's really helpful.
yeah, that was really helpful from that side of it. And it was good that the neighbours, really connected with him as well. So he felt that he wasn't missing out. But I realised that if it hadn't been such a great relationship with them, he would have missed out. He would have felt like he was just being babysat by somebody, and where was dad? And so as he's grown up, I realised now he's in his 30s, he did feel a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And so what I'm working and teaching other men now is really my mistakes of what I did in the past. I didn't do it
Wow.
very well.
Yeah.
And I realize that now, and I think in a lot of ways, I'm extremely lucky that my boys are the young men that they are, because they've grown up to be young men that I love and respect. And they've done it in a way in which I think quite often it was in spite of what I did.
Wow.
So um, most of the stuff I teach and know today is stuff that I've learnt from my mistakes. And I hate to see other men do the same thing.
Well, so, but how did you come up to realize those mistakes? I mean, because I mean, you said the word. I mean, you were in automatic mode, right? And you were drifting away. But how did you realize there were mistakes, and how did you decide to fix them, even if it was maybe too late for your kids, but to help other dads on their journey?
Yeah, well, it was through my work that it sort of I got that realization. After my second wife and I split up, she was a massage therapist and taught me into doing the massage course. And
Okay.
after we broke up, uh, I stopped massaging. And then through some mates talking me into going out to a spiritual retreat and giving some people some massages, and people coming back and telling me they were having all sorts of experiences while they're on the table of which was a bit bizarre to me. And then when I started massaging again, and I was attracting people who had terminal illnesses, cancer, and on transplant lists for kidneys and things like that. And while I was working with them, plus they were seeing a very good herbalist in Newcastle called Visionary Health, they were getting some great results and actually turning their conditions around, which to me was absolutely bizarre. My background was remedial massage.
Yeah.
You know,
And before that, technical, right?
they're very technical.
Yeah.
And so now I'm into something that was definitely spiritual.
Uh-huh.
So through some chance meetings with some Aboriginals, I got invited out bush,
Yep.
went out on a regular basis. It started out one Friday night and it ended up every Friday night for over a year. And so
Wow. That's after your kids left home, or
this is
while your
after they
kids were?
left home. My
Yep.
youngest
Yep.
one
Yep.
now is about 14, 15. And
Yep.
in fact, when I got married the second time, and as I said, it was only a 2-year marriage, after about a year, he decided he wanted to move back to his mother's. And
Yep.
because I'd taken time out to build a bit of a relationship with her, he was able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was going through this process and going out bush, his mother came to me and said how he was always fighting with her through the week. But when I took him out camping on those weekends, he would come home being respectful to her. And then,
Wow.
and about, because this was while I'm going through my own rites of passage or my own uh,
That's right.
learning. And it was a case of understanding that, well, the Aboriginal side of things, 3 pillars: love, humility, and respect. And
Oh,
they're all
love,
about bringing one
humility,
and
and
respect.
respect. Sorry, writing that down. That is simple yet
Very
powerful, right?
simple. Because when you look at love, well, it's just love for the planet, love for the people around us, respect everybody. You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that you're going to be timid and meek and everything else. You can still be proud about what you do and everything else, but you got some humility about it.
Mm.
But the main thing was with the love side of it. It was loving and respecting was loving and respecting women as well, and that was first of all it was Mother Earth. That was where the respect
Yes.
starts, the love
Yeah.
starts.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then I
Yeah.
looked at it and thought, right, if the earth is mother and it produces everything that it produces, then what about a woman, a mother? And therefore, what about all women? Because any woman can become a mother. So that love then extended into women as well. And that's why I realized my boys had to have an understanding of their mother. They had to be able to love her and respect her.
Mm.
So we put that in place.
And you realize that it was never too late to do that.
That's right. And it's
Yeah.
only because of, if it hadn't been for what was happening with the massage side of things with my business, I never would have got this realization about the family side of things. I
Yeah.
never would have had that connection with the Aboriginals.
But so just to summarize, you saw on your table that some people with some severe illness were finding cure, like
Mm.
spiritually, um, being linked or not linked with Aboriginal people. So you decided to go and start going with them, and then later on you brought your son with you on those campfires.
Yeah,
And so while you were healing yourself, you were also helping your son.
that's it. Because everything you learn as you're going along, once you fully understand that, you should be sharing it with other people. You don't wait till you think you've got all of it, because you never
Yeah.
will. You'll be spending the
Yes.
rest of your life always learning. But the way it worked out was that wasn't long before they asked me to if I wanted to go through my initiation, so through Aboriginal law, so LORE, so culture.
Okay. So what is it? What's the initiation?
Well, that is when think about the old tribal when a boy went out bush, and as far as that came back as a man, and
Oh, so
that's
you initiation as you becoming of a man in the Aboriginal culture.
that's it. So at that point, I was about 49 years old, going on 50, so I was just an old boy.
Yeah. Wow.
But you go through the process, and it's something it's not so much that it's a secret society. It's like Freemasonry. It's like the Aboriginal side of things.
Mm.
They're all societies with secrets, and
Yeah.
those secrets are things that you learn when you get to a certain stage. When you have the right to go to the next level, that's when you learn something new,
Nice.
and you don't share it with anybody else who hasn't got there yet, because you would rob that person of that experience. And so I was invited to go out on a regular basis, which then extended on to going through initiation. My youngest boy was watching what was happening up to that point, and he wanted to go out. The more I spent time out with him, the more he came back to his mother, respectful.
Wow.
Wasn't too long before he fought with her again. So the end result, I spent more time with him. He then went through his rite of passage as well, so he followed me through.
That was going to be my question.
So,
Because
two white fellas.
I think what you're doing is you were helping him, teaching him through your own action and your own behavior.
That's
You
it.
were not forcing him to say, look, this is what you have to do. You were like, look, I'm doing this, come and join with me, and then you do what you, wow, that's
it.
I mean, I think that's
about it this way. As a father, as any parent, your job is not to be a sculptor or a carpenter. Your job's not to turn your kids into something. You're a gardener. Your job is to nurture them so that they grow into the best version of themselves. And they
yes.
do that not by telling them, but by leading by example.
Yeah.
Girls will watch their dads as they're growing up to see what sort of a man is their dad. What can I expect when I get older? What can I find? So they will gauge what their life is going to be like against their father. So if father's great, they're going to be looking for a great man. If the father's an abuser, whatever, then the end result is that's what they'll probably attract into their life.
That's what they will be attracted to. Yep, because
and
that's
the boy will look at dad as his first hero. And so, but dad's job is not to turn. This is what I learned through the Aboriginal side. This is why, as men, we need to band together. We need to connect. We need to have a tribe, so to speak, around us. Because as a father, my job was not to turn my son into a clone of me. My job was to get him ready to go through his rite of passage. All those other men that I could draw around me, he would then look at all those and observe them and take those little bits of each one that he liked.
Yes, he curated what he liked in different father figures and brought it back, and so that you were allowing to do that you were not pissed off that you were hanging with those guys.
That's it. See, I jokingly talk about my three sons being chalk and cheese, and I don't know what the third version is. But they're all different to each other. And that's why, as brothers, when they get together, they're as noisy as anything, but they're so supportive of each other. And each one has their own gifts. Yeah. And each one of them brings something to the table that the others don't have. And they work together.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about it.
It's crazy because you raise the first one and you think, if you figure it out, you think, okay, I'll be okay with the second one, and then it's totally different.
Well, think about it. Every memory that we have is stored in every cell of our body.
Yeah.
So when we conceive a child, half the DNA comes from the mum, half comes from the dad, and the memories come from both of the parents into the child. So every experience you had is going to be different between each of the children that you have. So my oldest boy was 15 months older than my second boy. He was 8 years older than my youngest. So all of them are going to be different. There's also going to be the difference of how we treat each child because of newness and used to it. And third one just drives you nuts, that sort of thing. But I learned a lot of this as well from my own experience. My dad died when I was 3.
Okay, so you didn't have a father figure to begin with.
So I missed out on a father figure, a male figure around me, a role model, and that all through my life. Had a few neighbours, but nobody that I really connected with.
Yeah.
In fact, my uncle, one of my uncles, my mother's sister's husband, had told my fiance at our wedding, or our engagement party, I should say, that she could do better than me. So
nice.
I grew up with no support whatsoever.
Wow.
And I did hear a lot of stories. I did hear a lot of stories about my dad, and he died, as I said, when I was 3. And so all I had was the memories of the stories that I was told, and that's what I tried to live up to. On my 50th birthday, which is about the time I started my journey with the Aboriginal side of things, a friend had a a surprise birthday party for me. I'm 50 years old, and as I'm cutting the cake and pulling the knife down, I stalled and I stopped because all of a sudden in my head, my father died when he was 49 years old.
Ah,
So now I am older than my father ever had been. So any memories of what he had done through his life, I could no longer try and live up to those because he hadn't lived as long as me. And so now
okay. Yep,
I'm
yep.
going, what do I do? And it was just lucky, these chance events that were happening, that I got in, had all these questions, had no answers. And I thought I couldn't get answers from any of the new age stuff that was out there. It just didn't
Yep,
gel.
yep. Didn't resonate
And
with you.
through some chance meetings, met this Aboriginal gentleman who then connected everything through for me. And away we
So,
went.
so, so that's my key question, because I think since the beginning of the interview, you've been aiming at that one of your key secret weapon is to join or build a tribe, and you said especially for men, right? And
Mm.
you explain us all the benefits, like joint, having the secrets, doing your rite of passage and learning more and drawing on the experience of others. Um, and in a previous interview, I was with one of the members of the Fatherhood Project, and the way they do that is they go to in each primary school and starts dad's group, right? You were talking about by yourself being part of an Aboriginal tribe. So how do we go now? Do the dads in the audience? How do we go about joining or building a tribe? Do you recommend that we all go in the bush and start meeting an
You know,
Aboriginal tribe?
for me, that's what I needed. I needed something completely different to everything else I did. I need something to break my paradigms and everything else. But I've just come off the back of a 3-day mental health forum. It was called the Modern Masculine Summit.
The
And
Modern Masculine Summit. I like that.
yeah,
Yes.
now that was put together by a friend of mine, Helen Glover, beautiful lady, beautiful soul, who brought in all the men. I spoke on the Friday night in a panel discussion, did the same on Saturday, and on Sunday morning, all the panelists, we got together and did a men's circle.
Yep.
Now, in that men's circle, all of those men are running different men's groups, and they've all got a different theme to them. So
Different
it's
themes for different groups.
yeah.
Okay.
So I always suggest to people, sit down and take some time to, reflect on yourself. What sort of things that you like to do? What would you like to do that you haven't done before? And then do a bit of research, find the groups that have those,
Yes.
and then join one of the groups. Because to start a group on your own, I wouldn't have done that at any point, simply because
Yeah.
back in those days, because I didn't have any experience. And so it'd be just like getting a whole bunch of guys together and going to the pub. Well, that usually
Yeah.
doesn't work.
It's what you just described. It's what I had to go through, and I put that tool together. It's available on my website. It's called a 12 months holistic review, where you sit down and you review what you really enjoyed in the past 12 months, and you focus on what you like doing and realize what you like doing, and then you start focusing on the rest. But it starts with us taking some time to do that, because if we never have time to do that, we never give time to ourselves, but then it allows us to be able to look for the right circle, the right group of people that we will be interested in.
That's it. So for a long time, we've been told as men, we have to get in touch with our emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of cases, that's caused a lot of confusion, because a lot of men just don't know how to do that. There's caused confusion in the workplace. It's caused confusion in the home.
Yeah.
But it's through emotions and feeling that we actually find our answers. We don't work anything out by thinking about it. Because if you don't like the way you're thinking, and I said, well, stop thinking about that, how would you like to think? You can't do it. But if you
No.
go into it, well, if I think this way and I don't like the way I'm thinking, and that's making me feel really crap, well, how would you prefer to feel? Tell me, what would you be doing if you felt, what ways do you like to feel? Now tell me, and use every sense you've got: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, gustatory. Who are you with? What would you be saying? What would you be doing? If you're sitting down, if you like going out to meals, for instance, who are you sitting with? What are you talking about? What are you tasting? What type of food are you eating? The more that you spend time in the good feelings, the thoughts align to it. So you don't have to fix your old thoughts. You actually create new thoughts, new memories based on the way you want to feel. And in that, you've got instant response. And this is how I worked with people. I'd take them through an NLP process, would talk about the issues that were affecting them in their lives, and then I added the massage to it. So that gave them an hour on the table with aromatherapies, oils, massage, color, sound, music
Yeah.
playing, and everything else that allowed them to just really relax and everything we've been talking about anchor into their neurology. And the end result was that also fixed their physiology as well. This is when
Wow.
they were
Yeah.
reversing some of their conditions,
Yeah.
because everything got us into, we might have had some thoughts that came from a feeling. It always starts with feelings.
Yeah.
Causes the thoughts. Those thoughts we start to manifest it, which then feeds back to our feelings. And if it's all bad stuff, we just get worse and worse. We think there's no response, there's no out of this. And, to sit down and say, okay, I'm not going to think that way anymore. Well, if I said, don't think of a pink elephant, I guarantee what's running between your ears right now. It's a pink elephant. And so,
It
but if I
reminds me
say,
of
tell me
a
about the
book.
things you love to feel, completely different.
It reminds me of a book that I'm currently reading again, which is The Body Keeps the Score. And basically, like, he's a psychologist, and he's saying, well, sometimes reliving the trauma that you went through doesn't help you, but what helps you is spend time in the good times, so you start feeling well. And he was also saying that sometimes your body is in pain, your physiology is not working because of your neurology. So when you start addressing the neurology, that's when you can actually um, heal your body. And the metaphor of the body keeps the score is, if you pretend that this pain is done with, you just put another layer of other pain, and as soon as you start to actually address the pain, well, you still have the other one that comes out.
Yeah,
So it's a long process.
You see, and the first thing I always say to anybody, if you're, depending on how you feel about the job you've done as a dad and everything else at the moment, before you beat yourself up and think, I failed at this and I failed at that, I have one question. Like, a lot of people would say to me, I've got all this shame about things I do. And I go, well, first of all, tell me, did you deliberately do whatever you did knowing that it was wrong? And the person goes, no. It's just that I didn't know the right things to do. And I go, well, there should be no shame. Shame is when you do something wrong that you know you shouldn't be doing. You can have regrets because the past wasn't, I've got a lot of regrets when I think about the things that I would have liked, but I don't beat myself up on them because I didn't know better at the time. But once I do know better, then I change the way that I do things. So if any man's worrying about that he may not have been doing the right job by his children, if you're thinking that way, first of all, you are doing the right thing by your children, because the first thing is you're putting your children first in your thoughts. So straight away, you're taking the right approach. Then you look at it and go, rightio, okay, if I look at what I've done that I maybe should have done differently, look at it from the point of view of, what lessons can I learn from this? If that was what I did, what could I have done that's better? And now you're moving away from what the problem was and moving towards the solution.
Yeah.
And it's only when you move towards the solution that you actually get anywhere. It's like the old saying, fake it till you make it, does not work.
Nah.
Act as if you're already there.
Yes. So is that what you do during the campfire, like trying to find who you are and trying to build on not having a shame, and then starting to work on a solution?
Well, there's two campfires. There's a campfire project and there's physical campfires that I go to. The physical campfires are out bush with the other men, the uncles and the brothers, and there could be 100 of us or more than that at a time.
Whoa, okay.
Sitting around and talking. And what we do there is, it's all about, again, love, humility and respect. We have conversations, and when somebody is telling their story, it's treated with respect. We treat the person with dignity. We listen to their stories. When they ask us for answers or ideas, that's when we deliver it. We don't, because the biggest problem with coaches today is they say it takes about 17 seconds. Once you start telling your problem, it takes about 17 seconds before they're telling you what you should do. I keep saying you've got one of these, yes. And people say you've got two of the ears. And I go, yes, but you also got two eyes. Use them in that proportion. So your mouth is the last thing that you use. You use your eyes, you use your ears, you take it all in. Then when you've got it all together, you've asked the person several questions and you got deep into the real issues, then and only then So you say, well, first of all, do you want me to give you some answers or some ideas? The person says yes, then I give it to them. If they don't ask or they don't want it, I don't give it. With the Campfire Project, that was a group that came from what I'd learnt out with the Aboriginals, plus the fact that I'm also a Freemason. And Freemasonry is about bringing boys, Aboriginal side bring boys into manhood, but then what do you do with them once you create men? Well, the Freemasonry side of thing was helping men to become better men. And it's based on brotherly love, relief, and truth. So brotherly
Okay.
love for each other. So there's the respect and the love in there. Relief being supporting, helping charities, working in that area. So being of service. And truth, working out what is true to you. What's not just taking what you're told by other people, but searching for your own truth and the
Yeah.
truth around the community. And in that Campfire Project was put together mainly for a safe place for men to be able to come in where they could share their stories, in where they're going to be respected and looked after. So it was closed group, keep the trolls out. So some of the men who came in, one of them had been a bully at school, horrific things that he did at school. But his full story was that he had been bullied at home, and three of his
Yep.
brothers had committed suicide because of the bullying. And that was from mum and dad.
Wow.
And so he went to school. He was educated to become a bully, and that's why he went to school and he bullied
Mhm.
others. So he got his self-esteem. It was the only way he could survive. So he told his story, and that needed to be protected because now he works in work. He takes on foster children that nobody else will touch, and he
Oh,
brings them
wow.
through to a level where other families can then take them on. So he gets the worst of them, helps to bring out the best in them, and somebody else gets the reward of their best. So he
Wow.
is doing his penance on what he did as a child in big time.
But
Another,
he needed that time in a safe environment like the campfire to be able to go through it and it's kind of the, do you actually give that safe space for them to reflect on what they've done and what they would like to do?
yeah. So it's opened up for them to, because a lot of them people have. There was one guy who was 6 years old when his brother sold him for sex, and those rapes went on for 3 years. He then went through physical and emotional abuse from both his mother and his brother until he was 15. He left home. Now he works in the area of trying to reduce child sexual slavery and child abuse.
Because he
Another
knows what
guy
it
was,
is.
yeah, another guy was 15 years old, protecting his two younger brothers and sisters, while he watched his father stab his mother to death, 15 stab wounds. And so he now works in the area of domestic violence. So they come on, give them a chance to talk about what they're doing today, but I always want to know their story, why they got to where they are. So and most of them have never really had the chance to be able to tell those stories. So the campfire is a safe place for that. But all the way since day one, there'd always been women in the group. And it was twofold there. One was to see whether women would respect the men, but I also wanted to see whether the women would, how these men could talk, and these women would see that when we're in a safe place where we can talk, how we're different to what we see in the general public.
Mm.
And so I do one-on-one chats with them, and then to expand it further, I have 4 people on Zoom. It fills the screen nicely, so me and 3 others, and also rotate the men that are coming through all the time, and we're talking about issues that are affecting our families today: pornography, masculinity, femininity, all the different issues that come
Mm.
up. And in that, the women have been sitting in the background, sending me personal messages saying, never heard men talk like this before. We love it. We want to get into these conversations and share some
Wow.
conversations with these men.
Yeah, yeah.
So now the group's gone to almost 1,100 members in less than 2 years.
Nice. Yeah.
And I've interviewed over 110 one-on-one and over 60. Well, I did my 63rd panel discussion this morning. And some of the other guys now are stepping up who came in to find their own way and now doing Facebook Lives. They're doing panel discussions. They're doing one-on-ones. And it's gone from being my tribe to a global community.
Nice.
And
Beautiful.
it's under the banner. It's not really just a men's group, because I realised that when Me Too came out for the women in 2003, it was to solve some of the abuse issues and things that were going on. But over the period of time, there also became a lot of false allegations. So in 2018, the Men Too movement came out to try and combat that. So now we've got groups that are created to fix problems of that day, to come up with solutions, but then their solutions become the problems of tomorrow.
Mm.
Well, wherever we're separate, we're never going to be able to get results. So I created the hashtag We Together. The campfire was built under that campfire
Mm-hmm.
project, and it's a place where men and women come together, respectful discussions. Anybody's rude to anybody, I don't care if they're male or female, being rude to anybody else, male or female, they're out. We've got people who are transitioning between the genders and things like that as well. So it's I don't care about your gender, I don't care about your religion, I don't care about your culture.
Mm.
All I care about is the quality of your heart. If you come in here to have conversations, if you don't agree with somebody, why do you believe that? Tell me, explain to me so I can understand. And in that, we're having these enriched conversations, and men and women are now treating each other with respect. And so now we're getting feedback, and this is where those men are really stepping up to become the leaders in their families.
So where do we find those campfires? How can we join? How can the audience join?
Well, the Campfire Project is on Facebook. Just check the groups for Campfire Project, or
Mm-hmm.
just go to my page. You'll find my personal page,
Mm-hmm.
which,
alanstevens.com.au, is that it?
well, if you go to that one, that's my website. You'll find information in there. But in
Okay.
Facebook itself, just look up Alan Stevens. You'll find my photo on there. Then you'll know you're in the right group.
Okay.
And you'll find ads all over. So when we do a talk in the Campfire Project, it's put in the Campfire Project. So people to see it have to come into the Campfire Project. That's why it keeps it safe.
Yep.
But I also advertise the talk outside so people know about it so they can come in. You'll find those ads on my personal page. Click the link there and ask to join the Campfire.
Cool. Excellent. I like it because since the beginning, you've been talking about one of the secret weapons is to join the tribe. And then you told us that through the summit that you went over the weekend, you realized that there was a lot of tribe leaders with a lot of different circles according to what you like. And now you described to us that through the Campfire Project, you have your own tribe, which used to be your tribe. And as you said, it's now becoming a global tribe. And the beauty of it, you start seeing those men building their own tribe and building their own project to tackle the key topic that has been important for them.
That's it. So the lady who ran that summit, she's been in the Campfire Project, has had one-on-one discussions with me. A couple of the other men who spoke on there have been regulars in the Campfire Project. They've been panel members as well. And so by bringing all those men in, I brought all those different tribes into the Campfire Project.
Yeah.
So when somebody tells their story in there, yes, it's only the people in the Campfire and all those other groups connected to it, where those members of people are members, can see that video. But once somebody like a coach has proven themselves, they've done the talk, people have got a chance to see who they are. If they're running an event, I get them to put it in the Campfire free of charge.
Okay.
And that way it opens what that event they're running out to the world, to all those other men's groups. So by keeping it a closed group, I've opened it to the world.
Nice.
So it was a process that I'd mapped this out before I'd started, and I looked at the one-on-ones, bringing the women in, having the panel discussions and the next few levels. We've got about 5 major things have happened so far, and I've just looked at my other hand. I go, yep, there's another 5. Just use my fingers to count. And probably some more ideas will come up. And I said the other day, I'll take my shoes and socks off and use the toes to count them. We just keep growing, we keep making new ideas, we add it. And because people have taken this as ownership of the group themselves, they're coming up with ideas as well.
Themselves how to grow it. Yeah.
You know, I never wanted it to be my tribe, but that's the way people saw it to start with. It was always my intention to turn this into a global community, and it's just been morphing along and growing into that, which has been
that's
brilliant.
beautiful. And I like how it started by, it was you making a lot of mistakes, then you with your own kids, and then you realizing at 49 that you were still an old boy, and that you could, through that ceremony with the Aboriginal tribe, you could actually become an adult and then start owning your mistakes and start working on them. So that's, and now I see where you are, which at only 51, right? It was only last year.
I wish it was. No, I'm just almost, only a couple more years and I'll be 70. So it's been an interesting, a period of time. But the thing to remember is that it's, don't beat yourself up if you're a father and you're worried about your children. Don't try to be the man, because everybody's out there trying to compete. They're trying to be the man. Be a man and be the best version of a man that you can possibly be. because in that there's no competition. This is why I can sit with all these other men, feel loved and respected, and feel that I've got a place, knowing that none of them are trying to be the man. They're all trying to be the best versions that they can be.
Yeah.
And in that we have brotherhood.
Yeah.
We have a family. Whereas when you're the man, you're always looking over your shoulder. It's a lonely place.
Yeah.
So
And
with your
it's,
children, do the same thing with your sons when you're talking to them.
yeah, help them to become the best version of themselves. It's
That's it. And you do that by being the best version of yourself so they can watch and learn from it.
beautiful. All right, well, so we're coming to an end of this interview. What is the one last thing you want to leave the audience with?
When you look back at what you may have done, if you don't think you've done a really good job, especially if you're listening to a lot of these podcasts where you're hearing about what people have achieved, everyone who's achieved anything have started off in a lost place to start with. That's why we achieve things. So just focus on where your thoughts are. If you're looking at moving forward, you're looking at being the best father you can possibly be, that's all you got to do, and just keep focusing on that and keep moving forward. But if you're looking for somebody to work with, don't just listen to the people who make the most noise. Ask them about their experience. Ask them to tell you what errors and mistakes they made. Because if they didn't make any errors or mistakes, they can't help you. They don't really know how to help you. It's the ones that have, like me, have screwed up so much that through that experience can actually help.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you so much, Alan.
You're welcome.
See ya.
Bye-bye.